Welcome inside the Purple Room. This week, I had the opportunity to interview the one and only legendary Chuck Swirsky, voice of the Raptors. He was literally my childhood. I would turn down the volume on the TV and turn up the volume on the radio just so I can listen to Jack and Chuck call the games. And he had those coined phrases like onions, baby onions, or get out the salami and cheese, mama. This ball game is over. We dive into that and so much more as we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Toronto Raptors.
Well, number one, thank you, because I love the Purple Room and I love purple. So, having said that, there are so many memories, and I'll tell you what, my favorite memory is walking into the Air Canada Center or the Sky Dome, Rogers Center, or Maple Leaf Garden when we were doing broadcasts there. And the fan base, I love the fans, I love the country. I am the biggest supporter of Canada. And so, I mean, it was an honor and a privilege to call Toronto Raptor basketball. Having said that, I mean, the way I have my passion for the city and for the team and the franchise transcended into our broadcast. And so each and every night, I wanted to bring that energy through radio, television, combination of both one year with simulcast. And now I look back, I can't believe it's been 30 years. It seemed like yesterday that I made my first broadcast with the Raptors and the Boston Celtics. And so, you know, I just have so many fond remembrances of people and games and situations, and especially there's so many kind people like yourself who,
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I have a son now who I am, molding into a Raptor fan himself. So it's truly a blessing for sure. I want to ask you, did you have a favorite player, maybe some guy who was like under the radar who we didn't hear about all the time, but someone that really stood out to you?
well, I mean, like, and that's a good question. I get that question asked a lot regarding favorites, and I really don't like to say favorites because every season is different. And I might have a relationship with a rookie player
Mhm.
who never played, but he turns out to be a great guy. For example, I'll give you an example. Sean Marks, in his rookie season, played with the Raptors. He came over with Charles Oakley in a trade for Marcus Camby with the Knicks. Sean Marks was a second round pick out of California, and he was very athletic, but he didn't see a lot of playing time. And he bounced around the NBA, found a home in San Antonio, then worked for the Spurs, and now is the GM and the point person for the Brooklyn Nets. But I saw something in Sean because he was a tremendous student of the game, but he didn't play much. And I always tell him, and he didn't realize this at the time, but it meant something to me. So my rookie year calling broadcasting for an NBA team, I didn't know a soul, like no one. And it's the first or maybe the second week of the season, and we're on the road in Charlotte, North Carolina. And the hotel where the Raptors stayed at was almost a football field away from a mall in Charlotte. We had an off day. So I'm walking around the mall, killing time. And again, I didn't know anyone. In those days, early in the season, before Jack joined me, I was doing solo games.
Mhm.
And remember back then that the Raptors weren't on television every night.
Yep.
They were on TV maybe 50, 60 times, leaving us to do radio for those remaining 20, 25 games of just a presence of communication was just radio. So I'm in Charlotte and I'm walking around the mall and I run into Sean Marks and a player by the name of John Thomas. And John was a big, burly guy from the University of Minnesota,
Yep.
played with the Knicks, and I believe he's still working for the Timberwolves in some capacity.
Nice.
And maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe he got out of the game. But so there were I see them in the mall and I reintroduce myself and they said, "What are you doing now?" I said, "I'm just bouncing around store to store, not buying anything, but just walking." And this is long before the days of the Fitbit, by the way, for steps. So they said, "Come with us. We're going to lunch." So we go to the food court. This is honest to God's truth. We go to the food court and we see a Panda Express
That's
and and they said, "Come on, we're going to treat you to lunch." And that was my first NBA lunch with a player.
that's truly
Panda
amazing.
Express. Panda Express at a mall in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Who could have done it any better?
Hey, you know what? It was the company, it was the camaraderie, it was awesome.
Exactly, exactly. And one of my other favorite things was all your catchphrases. They were truly some of my favorites. The break out the salami and cheese and the onions. How did you just come up with them? Was it something you prepped and thought about, or
Yeah,
did it?
I mean, I mean, with the salami and cheese, it was a guy wrote me a note saying I'm a big passionate fan. I watch the games on TV. I'm afraid to go to the refrigerator to make a sandwich
Yeah,
because I don't want to miss a dunk or one of your calls. And and I love salami and cheese. So I'm reading this. I'm saying, okay. So there was a game after I got the letter about a few days later and the Raptors are in front by like 11 points with about a minute to go. And out of nowhere, I just said, "Get out the salami and cheese, mama. This ball game is over."
I loved it.
And the producer in the truck that handles all the buttons and the knobs and tells, the director and the producer what, to show on TV, he's in my headset. Now, the viewers have no idea what's going on with the, communication from the truck. I hear in the headset, "Chuck, you all right? What's this salami and cheese thing?" And I hit the button, the mute button, where again, it would not go over the air, but I could communicate with the truck. And I said, "I'll explain that after the game." And the next morning, it just caught fire. So that, and then I wanted to identify our base of fans. And so when the first three-pointer was shot,
Mhm.
I'd always say, "Ring it up from downtown Moncton," or "Ring it up from downtown Ottawa," or downtown Burlington, or wherever.
Yeah.
And so I would get letters, emails, and I mean, it would be crazy. "Can you mention my name? My uncle's a big basketball fan. He lives in Victoria," all these things. And so I did it. And so I started that, and it just took me to so much of a connection with the country. And of course, I became a Canadian citizen. But all those things were the template and the foundation of how I felt about the team and the city and the franchise.
It was, I think I might have wrote to you too, just asking you to ring it up from Markham. And that was truly something. When you did that, I was like, he knows Markham, he knows where we are.
Yeah,
It was true. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the 30th anniversary was great. I'll tell you what, selfishly, I mean, I'm telling you something I haven't told anyone, but selfishly, since we're in the purple room, I was actually hoping to call a quarter with Jack for the 30th anniversary because I think it would have been a great turn back the clock. And I mean, Matt is the voice of the Raptors. I totally get that. He does a great job, all that stuff. But to turn the clock back for the 30th anniversary, to have one quarter with Jack and to bring back all those memories and stories, it would have been great. But it didn't happen. And I'm as a fan, because I am a fan of the game,
totally.
I just appreciate the history of the Raptors, the good times, the bad times, everything that went into things. I mean, I love Larry and Judy Tannenbaum. They're unbelievable human beings. I love them so much. And it was just a great period of time in my life.
In ours too. You in our to our households, to everything. You mean so much to us, and like we truly appreciate that. And before we go, I did want to ask you the state of the Raptors now. I mean, obviously they play the Bulls tonight. What are your thoughts? What do you see them as the future progresses with obviously this season going beyond?
Well, I mean, they've got a lot of young players, and I think they're going to find out within the next year, two, three, who can get to the next level. Because I mean, you throw four or five young players into the mix, and maybe you're hoping realistically that three can get to significant rotation playing time or starting. And I mean, whether it's Walter, whether it's Shed, whether it's Mobo, I mean, one thing's for certain is that, they're going to get, unless something really happens in the last 6 weeks of the season, they're going to probably be on the outside looking in for a play-in spot. And so they're going to get into the draft. Who knows what happens in the lottery?
Yeah.
They are turning the corner and adding solid young players into the mix. And, every franchise has a window. And then after that window closes, you reopen the window. Okay.
Mhm.
And the great thing about pro sports is you find out a lot about your management, your coaching staff, the chemistry of players, and some things work and some things don't work. And that's where your player development people come in, your scouts who, look at a player over and over and over and over. Then you meet with the player and then you decide we want this player, we're going to trade for that player. And so I think good days are ahead, definitely for the Raps.
That means a lot. Okay, that's good. Why I'm encouraged. I mean, I always look at the glass half full too, and I'm always optimistic about this team. I just from 95 to where we are now, truly always
Well,
will be a Raptor fan.
see, here's my take on that as I'm drinking my hot tea. See, need
Ah,
sunshine. And I drink out of this mug every day. See, my mug isn't half empty, half full. It's always full.
I love that.
And so I think for Raptor fans, you wake up in the morning, you've got an NBA team in your city, you want a championship, and that's great, but you want more because you want to be greedy. You just don't want one, you
No,
want two, and you want three, and you want four. And it's really, really hard, number one, to win an NBA game,
yeah,
just a single game, really hard. I mean, they're trying to beat you, you're trying to beat them. The coaching staff has put in a lot of time and energy into it. The front office is trying to put the best players into a roster, all those things. But I mean, that's why they play the game. It's very, very competitive.
exactly. And this has been great. Like I truly appreciate it. I guess before we go to, if there is one piece of advice you have for aspiring broadcasters who want to be in the industry, who are looking to be in sports, what would that be?
Well, number one, I'm going to give you four words. And I hope this resonates in your heart, in your soul, and for everyone watching in the purple room. And I love that, the purple room. Um, my four words are this for everyone, regardless of broadcasting or if they want to be a lawyer or a teacher or a social worker, anyone, be you, just you. Be you, just you. In other words, I want you to be the best version of yourself. And if it leads you to broadcasting, then bring the passion. Do whatever it takes. Sit in your room, write copy, look in the mirror, and deliver your, 5, 10 minute sportscast. Go up into the stands at the Scotia Bank with your phone and call a play-by-play. Do your notes, go online, get a roster of the Raptors, get a roster of the Bulls, sit up there with a pad and a pen, take score, look at the scoreboard, and call a game. When I look at a young Chuck Swirsky going into a high school gym sitting way up in the gym where no one's around. And I've got at that time, we didn't have the phone,
Yeah.
long before that, but it was awesome. And I would take a little tape recorder and I would have my little microphone and I would do play by play. And I mean, that's what I wanted to do from elementary school. And, but whatever you do it with passion, do it with purpose, do it with positivity, and by all means, persevere.
Absolutely love that. Chuck, that reminds me of me. I was that person. I would have my notepad. I would be in the Sprite zone. I would be writing away. And I think one thing obviously that I had written not too long ago was how much you appreciated my penmanship. And I was like,
I
yes,
know you
something.
do. I'll never forget that.
And with
I
my
had
brain
your
pen,
penmanship.
I would record games. I would on both cassette and VHS, and then look back and then record some interviews that you would do when you were on the fan and listen back to them, and then also try to emulate or try to be me too when I would do
Yeah.
my own broadcast when I entered
Yes.
college, doing all the things and then having my little stint on air when I was working over at Omni Television back in the day. So it was good times.
Yes. It was awesome. But I appreciate you allowing me to enter the purple room. This
Thank
was
you so
great. You
much.
were great.
Thanks for
And
being my first guest in the
yep,
Purple
thank
Room.
you. This is awesome. And be well.
Thank you so much. Take care, Chuck.